Sudhamna Anyamscha Hastacharana Sravanatogadi Pranamo Bhagavate Purushaya Om Stavakaya Dharmasya Sarvadharmasya Rupini Avatara Vishtaya Ramakrishna Sudistudibhuranam Alayam Karinaya Namami Bhagavad Shankaram Bhavashankar. So, for me, this is a very unique movement. To get an opportunity, a chance to come over to this place and to speak about the Advaita philosophy of Shankaracharya. So there are many interesting things about this unique personality of Shankaracharya. And I cannot do better than by referring to three very, very important descriptions of the personality and contributions of this unique personality, Shankaracharya. The first one, and maybe the most moving summarization of Shankaracharya as an individual and as a great philosopher, as a great poet, comes from Sister Vivekananda, the Belur Math, Pakistan border of today's India, and from extreme south to north. And then installing a number of temples, 4 monasteries for the preservation of Advaita Dharma, and more than all of that, writing the most profound, the most philosophical, the most spiritual poetry in Sanskrit language. I recollect reading a passage in the autobiography of Dr. Kunyan Raja. Dr. Kunyan Raja was associated with the founding of the Adaya Manuscript Library, one of the most important repositories of manuscripts and one of the most important centers of the branch that we call the manuscriptology, which is a repository of the unique manuscripts in India. Dr. Kunyan Raja. He says, he narrates an incident when he was studying. He was one of the members of the royal families in Kerala. He was going to school and he had to study Kumara Sambhava. So there is one verse, Kumara Sambhava, the 5th sarga, Apikriyartham sulabham samikusham janani vistani vidikshamanite apisasakya tavasi pravartase sarira madhyam khalu dharma sadhana. So the great philosophy that is expounded by all the Ayurvedic teachers like Bhagavad and others, Sarira Madhyam Khalu Dharma Sadhana. The body is the most important instrument for practicing dharma. And he refers to his professor expounding Mallinatha's Sanjeevani Vyakhyana on Digmarasana. And then he says his professor told the class that if Shankaracharya had not written these bhashyas, he would rank as a far greater poet than even Kalidasa, who is considered to be the Shakespeare of Sanskrit literature. So, if you compare Kalidasa's poetical works with Bhagavad Gita with plays, Abhigyan important plays or other important Mahakavyas or plays, if you compare the Shankaracharya's poetry, the sheer poetic beauty and charm and power and grandeur. So it is said by Sureshwaracharya in Mangala Sloka and the Bhakti, he says, as if Goddess Saraswati caught out of Shankara, possessed him and made him write all this. That's the greatness of Shankara, not as a philosopher, but as a Sanskrit poet. 68 of the most important poetical works, plus innumerable other poetical works. I am talking about Shankara not as a philosopher, not as an Advaita, but as a poet. And this is the least of his contributions, because he is not as a philosopher, but as a poet. Just 5 years. Now, let us see where Shankara stands. And let us see the background, the the philosophical spiritual landscape when he manifested on this earth. And we have to think of these 2,400 years of 24 centuries of the evolution and progress of Indian philosophy and Indian spirituality. All the way from Buddha in the 6th century BC, right up to 19th century, we witnessed this unique spiritual phenomenon that we understand as this combination of Sri Ramakrishna, Math and Swami Vivekananda. 24 centuries of the evolution of Indian spirituality. And Shankara stands right in the middle of it. But the history goes beyond that. Maybe one of the most important non-Advaitic philosophers that Shankara had to confront during his life and also in his writings that appear as Purva-Bhakshans, but the Mimamsakas. These Mimamsakas believed that our whole life is meant for performing external rituals. Yesterday I mentioned this because when you talk about Upanishads, you cannot avoid talking about Shankara. And when you talk about Shankara, you cannot skip Upanishads. So that's both are intertwined. So before even Lord Krishna appeared in the third, maybe the early 4th millennium BC, Mimamsakas have already become very prominent. That's why Gita itself refers to Mimamsakas as Aneka Chitta Vibhrantaha. That's what they are. They are highly confused. Yakshe Dasya Vimodishi Iti Ajnana Vimohita. They are ignorant people who believe that if you don't perform rituals, you cannot have any spiritual progress. And then came Lord Krishna and then came Buddha. Buddha, of course, tried to refine Hinduism. Buddha gave a humanistic interpretation of the Upanishad philosophy. Many of the Buddhist philosophers, especially in the Far Eastern countries, do not always show a great awareness when they talk about Buddhism. Especially, in the United States where I am right now active as a monk of the Ramakrishna order, mindfulness is very popular. But actually mindfulness is nothing but the English name given to a long discourse by Buddha, which is known as Mahasati Upattana Sutta. In Sanskrit, Mahasmurti Upasthana Sutta. Its shorter version is Satipattana Sutta, Smurti Upasthana Sutta, which teaches you how to keep your mind in a state of perfect detachment and awareness. But Buddha was actually not a non-Hindu, but Buddhism became a separate religious denomination only about 120 years after his passing away, after the first Buddhist council in Rajagrha, near today's Uttarakhand. And then came Kumarila Bhatta. When Kumarila Bhatta appeared between 2nd and 3rd century AD, not BC but AD, 600 years after Buddha's passing away, Mimamsakas had already taken a back seat. Buddhism had completely demolished Mimamsa tradition because many of the Sanskrit educated Pandits entered Buddhist fold, and that's how the great philosophical works which are not in Pali but in Sanskrit which emerged, so Sautrandika, Vaibhashya belong to the Hinayana tradition, and Shunyavada and Vijnanavada belonging to Mahayana tradition. So Kumarila Bhatta had to wage a big war against Buddhism. In the process, he won the battle for Vedas, but he won the battle for the Mimamsaka tradition. And then Shankara appears in the 8th century AD. At that time, he had to confront with two distinct schools of non-Advaitic philosophers. One who rejected the Vedas, the Buddhists, mostly Vijnanavadis. And I should again emphasize this point. Whenever we find in the Bhashyas any reference to the criticism of Buddhism, yet remember that Shankaracharya was actually aiming at a very degenerate form of Buddhism which had nothing to do with the original teachings of Buddha, which are enshrined in the Sutta Pitaka, the Pali canonical literature. Sutta Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka, Vinaya Pitaka, three Pitakas. So this should be kept in mind. Many people I have seen in the West who have no understanding of the Vedic tradition, they say that Shankara was fighting against Buddha. Absolutely wrong. Shankara was actually confronting a very degenerate form of Buddhism. Mostly it is the later school of Buddhism called Pravritti Vijnanavada. It is again the later phase of the evolution of Vijnanavada philosophy. Again it belongs to Dignitaries, who was the author of a well-known book called Alambana Pariksha, which was again commented upon by another student of Dignitaries in the famous Nalanda University. Both were teaching in Nalanda University. Dignitaries, Nagarjuna, all Nagarjuna was a junior. Dignitaries was possible to develop Vijnanavadins. And also Dharmapada. And they were all teaching in Nalanda University. So Dharmapada wrote a commentary on Dignitaries' Alambana Pariksha, which stated that Vijnana is the only thing that is existing. By Vijnana, in English they translate as consciousness. What Vijnana means a kind of inner platform in the mind where all the impressions come and go. And they insisted that nothing really exists. There was only thin a line of demarcation between the Pravritti Vijnanavada and Shunyavada. Now, in Shankara's books, whenever you find that the world is mithya, that the world is actually unreal, that in the sense it is not absolutely real, you have to remember that Shankara did not deny the reality of the world in which we are living. He did not say, I am not standing here, you are not sitting listening to me. He did not say that. Who said that? Vijnanavadins. Because Vijnanavadins, the Nagara school and also Dharmapada school, they totally denied any external objects or any external experiences. On the other hand, if I in Brahma Sutra Bhashya, there is a big confrontation between these Vijnanavadins and Advaita. Shankaracharya says, Jagar state, waking state is not exactly like Sopna. Nasopnavat, there is a Brahma Sutra is there. Nasopnavat. Let's say means because we see Nasopnavat Upalathe, that is the Bhashya language. We are witnessing, experiencing Jagar state, waking state experiences. So it is not like Sopna. Now you find mostly when you read the works of modern philosophers, who of course, unfortunately, fortunately have absolutely no access to the original works of Shankaracharya. I've seen the YouTube, the internet I've seen. People really like blogs, which of course I don't take the page to read. They will introduce themselves, I am working in an IT engineer and I am going to write an article on Advaita Vedanta. Now if you introduce yourself as an engineer and if you offer somebody, I shall do surgery on you, you run away from him. If a doctor tells you, I shall construct a bridge for you, you let him and you will travel to that bridge. If an engineer tells you, I am going to build a home for you, you may be happy. But if a doctor tells you, I am going to build a home for you, you won't dare to leave that home. So the point is, in today's world, anyone can say anything about Advaita Vedanta. And whatever you read from books, often I say, they read the Purva and then that they quote as Shankara, coming from Shankara Bhashya. Shankara Bhashya, Purva means, Purva views are opposed to Advaita, Shankaracharya is not free to. He is giving as a premise to emphasize the Advaita perspective. But they will just quote from Shankara Bhashya as if it is Shankaracharya's own words. So when Shankaracharya emphasizes that the world is not real. What he means is the world is mithya. And by the way, I want to mention this is very important for us to remember. What's the meaning of mithya? Or maya, avidya? More or less can be put in the same bracket. In the higher dialectical discussions, there will be certainly differences. But in a short talk for less than an hour, I cannot go into those details. But they all can be put in the same bracket for the time being. Mithya is something that we believe to be true, to be the absolute truth, till we get out of it. Just is till we bring light, you think the object lying in a thin, in a room which is not fully lit, you may think the object lying in the room is a snake. So when you bring light, then you understand it is not a snake, but it is rope. But the snake is not unreal. Snake is not in a room, but snake is in the forest. You see, you remember, you see purpose upon that object. So say you think that the rope is a snake. Like that, when we realize, when we get Brahma Jnana, then only we realize the fact that the world is mithya. That's this time we realize, oh, what I thought to be a snake is not a snake, but a piece of rope. Now, what I mean to say, there are 5 definitions of mithya, all coming from Shankaracharya, but they were expounded by 4 post-Shankarite philosophers, beginning with Padmavada, Sadasthana, Adhigaranatva, Mityatam, Sat, Asat, Tattva, Anadhigaranatva. I mean, Sat, Asat, Anadhigaranatva means there cannot be anything, just no Adhigarana, either as Sat or Asat. So, this world is not absolutely real, because if the world is absolutely real, it will never change, it will remain the same for billions of years. We know the world was not like this a few billions of years ago, or even a few millions of years ago. After a few more billion years in future, the world will not be like this. The world is changed. So it is neither real in the absolute sense, nor unreal in the absolute sense. So it is non-describable, non-definable. The next definition comes from Mayavati, who wrote a commentary on Panchapadika. Padmavada's book Panchapadika defines as anivachaniya. Mayavati defines as Pratibandho Bhadu Traikalika Nishedat Pradiyogittuva Vithyatva. What is experienced as rope. Sorry, what is experienced as snake? Instead of rope, you mistake it for a snake. The snake never existed in that object, either in the past, present, or future. The third definition is Jnana Nivartitva Mithyatva. When you get the absolute knowledge, but disappears, is mithya. Swasya Nishthatyadaho Pradiyogitva Mithyatva. That is from Tattwamayananda work of Chitsukacharya. I mean, the very object, the very snake in which you thought there was, the very rope in which you thought there was a snake, the snake never existed in the rope. That means, in reality, the entire world is there, but it doesn't exist in the past, in the present, and in future without any change. It undergoes change in Trigala. It is Trigala. It is not Trigala Abhagida, it is Trigala Bhagida, means something that remains impacted by the changes in the past, present, and future. The fifth one is, of course, Swami Vivekananda, but it is distinct from the absolute reality. This is Ananda Bodha's Nyaya. Now, these definitions were taken up by Vyasatirtha and criticized, and Madhusudana Saraswati came back in 16th century and defended this. Now, there is something about Madhusudana Saraswati. The name of Madhusudana Saraswati will take us to a very important theme in Indian spiritual tradition, that is bhakti. There are many people who tell you Shankaracharya did not accept bhakti. I remember in my own experience, a spiritual seeker, in the morning, in one of the important celebrations, was using his harmonium and he was chanting Bhavani Shtaram, Gadistum Gadistum Tomega Bhavani. The same person who happened to be my student later asked me, evening, Maharaj, why Shankaracharya rejected bhakti? Then I said, this morning you were chanting it vigorously, ferociously. You were chanting Gadistum Gadistum Tomega Bhavani, and this is the work of Shankaracharya. Actually, historically speaking, in Chaitanya's Padibhakti tradition, Ananya Gadittum is an important component of Prabhati idea in Chaitanya Vaishnava philosophy. And also Karpanyam, that's a different subject, I should not go beyond the context. But this Karpanya and Ananya Gadittum, this is an important aspect of Ramanuja's philosophy and Chaitanya's philosophy of Prabhati. Of course, it is Ramanuja who made it a very systematic philosophy in his Gadyatraya, Saranagati Gadyam, and also Vedanta Desika elaborated that in his Rahasyatraya Saram. It's a very important book by Vedanta Desika who expounds the philosophy of Saranagati, Prabhati or self-surrender. But actually, you know, the first Indian philosopher, Indian spiritual teacher, who said that Bhakti and Jnanam at the highest level are the same. You know who said that? Shankaracharya. 13th chapter, Bhagavad Gita, Maija Ananya Yogena Bhakti Abhivijarini Vivikta Desha Sevittum Anavirjana Samsati. The theme of discussion in this verse is pure, unwavering devotion. Achala, Nirmala, Shuddha, Ananya Yogena Bhajana Bhakti. Then Shankaracharya says, this bhakti is jnanam, sacha jnanam. This bhakti. So at the highest level, bhakti and jnanam, Advaita jnanam are the same. Now if you read any of Shankaracharya's famous poetical works, they will agree and they will agree, Siva Lakshmana Stotram already find, it all ends with a sense of total self-surrender. Now there are many people who will tell you that Advaita is against Shankara's Advaita is against bhakti. But there is a background, a polemical, dialectical explanation for this misunderstanding. Because after Shankara's time, a great Shankarite philosopher, Vajaspati Misra, wrote a well-known book known as Bhamani Tika. And then that was followed by a number of other dialectical works, Kalpataru, Parimala and so on. Apayudikshara was a great bhakta, but he did not accept bhakti in the Kalpataru Parimala. He was a great follower of the Prasankhyanavada of Bhamani school. And there is a different subject. The point is, in later centuries, there was a great confrontation between Advaitis on the one hand and Dvaitis on the other hand, the followers of Madhvacharya. Jayatirtha, Vaditirtha, and all other, and Trivikrama Pandita, all of them wrote books criticizing Advaita, not entirely without justification. I will explain that. Even Ramanuja's story, Ramanuja began to cry when Ramanuja's, that Ramanuja's teacher was teaching Yadava Prakasha. Yadava Prakasha is not considered to be a real Advaita. Because Yadava Prakasha, his books tell you that he totally rejected the bhakti element found in Shankaracharya's works, especially in the Gita Bhashya. So what happened was, Yadava Prakasha and also Sikharsha, who wrote Khandana Khandakadya to defend Advaita against the criticism of Nayayikas. And also in the works of Vivekananda, Sugacharya's Tattwamayananda and other dialectical works written to defend Advaita against the all sorts of Dvaitis, Bhakti took a back seat. Karma Yoga also took a back seat. What happened? Advaita came to be unfortunately wrongly interpreted and presented as a dry intellectualism. And then came Madhusudana Saraswati in 16th century. The credit for reinstating bhakti in Advaita tradition goes back to Madhusudana. He begins his work, Gudata Dipika, with a great prayer. The essence of this is, well, there may be philosophers, but my own personal life, my dearest ideal is Sai Krishna playing his flute. That Vamsi Vibhush, that's how it begins, long point. So I don't try to explain right now. So what happened was, the bhakti idea of Shankaracharya's bhashya, his philosophical was completely neglected during this dialectical confrontations between Advaitins and Dvaitis. Now another importance of karma. Yesterday I touched upon this. There are many people who wrongly tell you that Advaita totally rejects karma. Absolutely wrong. Shankaracharya, I mentioned this yesterday briefly. Shankaracharya only said that any kind of action for a selfish purpose with a strong desire to accomplish something in this world, either long life or wealth or children or power and position. That kind of ritual, yajnas and yagas, altogether there are 14 yagas, sapta thagi yajnaha, sapta soma yajnaha. If you perform any of these rituals, and if you put havish on the fire, agni, Pashima Saradasudam, Jivema Saradasudam, Bhujasa Saradasudam, give me more and more wealth. Let me live for Saradasudam means let me be blessed with 100 years of autumnal season. That means let me be blessed with long 100 years of life. I mean, pray for longevity, long life. This sort of rituals, he never ridicules, but he says, there is something beyond these rituals. You get, see, he never tells people to stop doing rituals. He only says the ritual is not the only purpose of human life, because the Mimamsakas used to say Yava Jive, that means you should continue performing these yajnas and yagas of karma, etc. Yava Jiva Suri it is called. There are many statements in Jainini. As long as you are alive in this world, you should go on performing these rituals. This is the only purpose of human life. As a result, you go to heaven, after enjoying breakfast, you are born again, and this cycle continues. So it was against this that Buddha said, Chattvari Arisatyani, and then the last, fourth noble truth is Nirvana. That we are going beyond all. This for he divides this Ashtanga Yoga, the Samik Smriti, Samik Vyayama, Samik Swami Samadhi, and so on. It's a different subject. So the point is, Shankaracharya only said, he need not insist on a person eating chocolate candies all his life. That's what he says. When you become spiritually more advanced, then you can certainly go beyond this rhythm of performing rituals just for material purpose. So that's why he says, for example, according to him, Prad Brahmana Vijnana Sarva Loka Vyavaharanam Satyatuvati Karmanishthaya Chitta Siddhikarana Prasadavirutum Na Swadantrena. Shankaracharya says, till you get Brahmajnanam, then you can live in this world, do good things. In the Swamiji statement, the world is a gymnasium for us to work our karmas. You don't live in a gymnasium. You go to gymnasium every day, spend maybe 40 minutes every day. But you don't make a residence in a gymnasium. So only Shankaracharya only said, don't live in a gymnasium. Go there once in a while. But when you feel that you need not go there, then you can stop going. Mimamsa said, no, every day you should perform these rituals. And Shankaracharya said, those who don't have any desire for material comforts, they can certainly go beyond this. They can transcend this level of desire for empirical comforts. That's why he said, Vyani Karmani Agnihotrani Shastra Vidhiyante Tani Sarvani Karmani, and kept a growth rate at about 3.2% till about the late 70s. But actually, he doesn't say Shankara there is personal interest, economic interest. You should certainly be active and vigorous. That's why Kusharana Prabhupada with the evolution, there is a competition interest. In a Vedic teacher is giving instruction to students who are leaving the Vedic hermitage, Vedic school. And he says, Satyavada Dharmajara, in that context, says, Kushanat na Prabhupada means Atma Samrakshanatha Karmanaha na Prabhupada. And the Gita goes to elaborate. Shankarana Saraswati in his Gita his family, economic responsibilities. So he quotes Shankarana Saraswati refers to the this idea of this Rajarshi Sankalpa coming from Gita. Who is a Rajarshi? Rajanasya, Shrestha, Rajarshaya. That means you should be king into the dynamism and should be rishi into the spiritual wisdom. And Shankarana Saraswati goes on explaining Rajittum Aishwarya Sambhati Rishittum Tasyava Sukshmartha Darsana Kshamattu. So Rajittum corresponds to welfare, economic, maybe military or technological power, crowd, and Rishittum signifies the ability to say where economic prosperity ends, where it stops. That's the only important thing. So in Shankara, you see, that's why he says, within Pratishedhasya Karmani Advaita Ashrama says. See, what is the purpose of karma in the language of Shankara Bhashya? Vidhi and Pratishedha, and not lovely karmas. So the misunderstanding that Advaita neglects karma, karma ideal, or Advaita tells us that the world is unreal. Advaita is a kind of world negating, a kind of life negating philosophy is totally without any foundation. And another very important trend I want to refer to in modern times. Remember, if you look at the history of the world, especially the world of Indian philosophy, wherever you find Indian philosophy is honored and accepted and respected, it's because of Advaita. Remember when Swamiji went to America, he preached the Upanishads. What he presented for Americans was Advaita. Now, when Swamiji returned to India, his own brother disciples had questioned why Swamiji did not talk about Sri Ramakrishna. What Swamiji did was, first he presented before Western people a kind of universal spiritual idealism, which could accommodate and which could face the challenges of 19th century Europe and America. 19th century was a critical period in the history of world religions. First of all, creationism, Origin of Species by Darwin, Karl Marx, and Angels, his publication of this Das Kapital and Communist Manifesto, and also these utilitarian views which were spreading in the US, and also in the East Coast of America, which questioned the claims of Abrahamic religion of exclusivism. So, in such a philosophical cultural landscape, Swami Vivekananda portrayed the present religion, which is universal. We can answer the questions posed by modern scientists, modern humanists, and also modern atheists even. So, if you look at today's conditions, if you look at the intellectual climate of the Western world, indirectly, not directly, even now we can see the shadows of Nietzsche, Friedrich Nietzsche, the German philosopher, and also Karl Marx, and also Sigmund Freud. These three great names, great into the Western culture, not necessarily for Vedantism, they dominate many of the thought process of people who criticize Vedanta and Hinduism. When you discuss Vedanta, when you portray the present Vedanta in this context, we should always remember, we should insist on this universal vision of Advaita Vedanta, Because Shankaracharya himself says, Susiddhanta Vyavasthasu Dvaitino Musyadadam Paraspara Viruddhinte Taiki Ayana Viruddhinte. In the Gauravada, in his Bhashya Shankaracharya says, Yadasa Vastapadadi means, he says, Asmadiyo Vaidiko Dharmana Viruddhite Yada So Vastapadadi. We have not quarreled with any of these different schools of doctrines because we are all one. Spiritually, the world is one. But at the same time, this is an idea presented only by Vedantis. We should remember. We should always remember this planet Earth is not inhabited by 8 billion Vedantis. Vedanta tells us that the entire creation is one spiritual family. Whole humanity is one spiritual family. But we are presenting this Vedanta to people who don't share these views always. Some small number always shares. So we should always keep in mind that when we discuss this idea, we should always try to link what we teach with our ancient roots. This is a very, very important parampara. We should not present Vedanta as a new ideal that came the other day, that came into existence the other day. It is continuing tradition. It was not a creation of Shankaracharya, but Shankaracharya was the one who made it into a complete, compact philosophical system, including within it very high idea of realism and also spiritual idealism and also devotion, karma yoga, charity, philanthropy and so on. Somebody will ask the question, Shankaracharya did not think about reforming society. It's as ridiculous as asking Shankaracharya did not use an iPhone. Because the times in which Shankara lived did not demand the kind of social reformation, charity and organized philanthropy that's needed today. What did Vivekananda do? What did Shankara do? They just brought the ancient wisdom and practiced in their life and reinterpreted and presented the future generations in a way that the wine remains the same, the bottle, the brand can be different. Old wine, same bottle, but old wine, but new bottles. So every Vedantic is bringing a new way of presenting an ancient wisdom. He is not creating a new wisdom, a new idea. He is only reinterpreting or representing this ancient wisdom. And another very important thing that I wanted to mention to you, very important contribution of Shankara. I mentioned this Panchadeva yesterday. You know, there are many gods and goddesses mentioned in Vedic literature. Indra, Mitra, Varuna, Agni, Yava, Prithvi, Soma and so on. Out of all this, the jungle of pantheon of Vedic deities, what Shankara did, he just organized all these into a single system called Panchadevata Puja. Aditya, Bhiga, Vishnu, Gananatham, Maheshwaram, Panchayika, Varo, Nitya, Grista, Panchapuji. But he did something much more. He also organized 6 movements, philosophic systems. It's called Sarvadasthavana. Saivancha, Vaishnavan, Jaiva, Savaram, Vainayagam, Tata, Skardamcha, Bhakti Margasya, Darsanami, Shadevaki. That's also Sarvadasthavana. So you can imagine all the existing philosophical, spiritual traditions were organized in a single platform so that they did not get scattered. And also all the deities, Vedic deities. You know, if you read Rigveda Samhita, it's almost like reading, we would say, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. So many gods and goddesses participating in different activities, coming to this earth, helping human beings in different activities. Shankara brought them all and formed a single pantheon called Panchadevata Puja, and also 6 spiritual movements called Shanmadasthavana. Just imagine the kind of work he did. And all this, the root was Advaita. Advaita was preaching. He was talking about a God who lives as Advaita in all of us. If you look at, if you're a student of the religion, you find Advaita is the only religious tradition that tells you that you can be spiritual without worshipping a God, without going to a temple. Even if you don't go to any temple, sit in a cave as in the Hari Baba's way. Ramana Maharshi, of course, he went to temple in the early days and then he settled in a cave. It doesn't mean that they rejected going to temples, but then they went beyond that. So it is absolutely essential that you should be going to temple every day. Look at any other tradition. Everything begins with anthropomorphism and ends with anthropomorphism. But Shankaracharya says, one can be spiritual, even sitting in your room. If you can do sadhana, then you will find that the same divine spark exists in all of us and exists everywhere. It is Sarva Antaryami, Sarva Vyapi and Sarva Atita. And of course, from a dialectical perspective, I should make reference to a very important aspect of Shankaracharya's interpretation of philosophy. It is linked to Karya Karana Sambandhavada, an Indian political dialectical tradition. There are 74 Vadas in literature, in different schools of philosophy. But in Vedanta, here Shankaracharya is for Satkaryavada. Satkaryavada implies that the effect pre-exists in cause. Karyam pre-exists in Karana. So, this Satkaryavada has got two streams. One is Vivartavada and one is Parinamavada. Vivartavada means Brahman appears to have become this world and different beings. Parinama means Brahman has really transformed himself into the intelligence. Parinamavada was accepted by Ramanuja, who believed in Brahma Parinamavada, and also by Sankhya school of philosophy, Prakriti Parinamavada. Prakriti, Makatantu, Ahangara, and then we transcend this feeling that world, that the God has become this world, and then we realize that God is actually the indweller, the Antaryami, is living as a divine spark in all of us. So this unique evolution of Shankara's system, which accommodates in a single spiritual ideal, the highest realism, is himself says, means karma nishtha, karma yoga is a royal road that will take you to the highest realization slowly but through chitta shuddhi and gradually jnana prapti and moksha. And then he says, Shankaracharya says that this world is there. World we can use for practicing karma yoga, pratma, vijnana, sarva, loka, vivahara, sattva, it is perfectly alright if you believe this world is there. Do good things, and as we do more and more good things, good samskaras will be enriching our mind. Slowly our mind will become pure, and then Advaita will be slowly, ultimately, will be attained by all of us. And they get Shankara's unique system of this concept of unity and oneness of existence. Actually, the only possible platform for us to work out interfaith harmony, the idea that all the different religious traditions are equally valid for the same goal, the only valid foundation is Advaita. But we should remember, we should always be careful about lopsided interpretations of Advaita by people who have no access to the original scriptures. Please remember, I don't mean to say that every person should learn Sanskrit, should be Vedanta. That may not be possible for everyone, because Swami Vivekananda had a sincerity that immediately helped him to connect the truth of Advaita. You can see that somebody was reading, particularly reading Upanishad, and immediately Swami Vivekananda would catch the meaning, and Swami admired him. So if you have a pure, sincere heart, we can certainly reach Advaita. But the danger is Advaita should not be misinterpreted, should not be misrepresented without having any access to the original books. If you cannot read the Sanskrit classics, you can read at least Swami Vivekananda's Jnana Yoga. It's a wonderful, best introduction possible in English language. So I have tried to present some of Shankaracharya's thoughts in his works. It's far beyond the scope within less than an hour, but I have just tried to give a broad view. To the end of it, I want to say what you find in Advaita is a universal spiritual idealism. It is universal because it accepts the entire humanity. Not only entire creation is one spiritual family. From the spiritual perspective, from the spiritual viewpoint, the whole creation, the whole existence is one spiritual family. That's the essence of Advaita that we find in Shankaracharya's works. So thank you.